Today we're gonna have a panel discussion with Grunley Construction. And my name is Juan Castro and I'm the Vice President of the SCA Group. Okay, so to start, the first question is, what was or what is your role in this project? So I can start with, what was your role?
Hey guys, my name is Adam Grunley and I'm the Vice President for Grunley Construction. I've served as the Chief Estimator and Director of Estimating and was in that role at the time we bid the MC Student Services Center. My day-to-day role consists of everything from pre-construction to operations to HR and PR and BD. I kind of managed to get a little bit of everywhere at once.
I'm Ryan Myers. I'm the project manager for the project, and my daily activity is basically the administration of the project. My role is to make sure that everything runs on time, runs smoothly for the project, and handle, the subcontractors and financials for the project, making sure that everything is being completed on time.
I'm Sam. I'm the Assistant Project Manager for the project. I actually kind of got a unique experience with this one. I was able to help the purchasing department buy out the project from the very beginning of March of last year. So estimating won the job. Well done.
She might disagree with my estimate being a good estimate.
I won't blame it all on you. No, it was really cool. We got to buy out the projects or the subs for the best price, and had a time to get into the details very early on before we started the project. And then once we did start out here, I do a lot of the documentation, keeping the drawings up to date. Me and Mike Mango, who's the engineer, is not here with us today, but we do a lot of the day-to-day, keeping the job organized in the computer system and in the office, making sure that everyone has the most up-to-date information on changes. I do a little bit of the financials. I help with change orders that come through, and just kind of help with the day-to-day solutions to the day-to-day problems that we have.
I'm Brian Keith. I'm the Senior Superintendent for Grunley. So I run the field portion of the project. Plan, coordinate, schedule, and implement the work. Try to lead people where I want them to go, and try to get to the end of the day within budget and our quality and our safety. So that's really what I'm responsible for, is the plan, coordinating, scheduling, and implementing, and making sure that we maintain our safety standards, our quality standards, which I also have a quality control manager in the field with me full time on this project, which is very nice to have. And that's pretty much what I do. On this project, I was also brought in very early, and I made the CPM schedule for the project, which is fairly time-consuming thing, but I had the time to do it, and Grunley gave me the opportunity, so I also made the CPM for the project, and then go to the field and build it.
Excellent. So the second question is, how would you describe a typical day in the role that you have? I know it might be different sometimes, but a typical day. We can go in the same order if that's fine.
I don't feel as though I have a typical day, to be honest, anymore. But probably 60% of my time spent in pure pre-construction, and I'm fortunate enough to have a wonderful team. We usually sit down first thing in the morning and kind of map out the strategic objectives for the jobs we're currently pursuing, look ahead at the remainder of the week and kind of plan it out from there. Of course, I have 2 or 3 hours of meetings every day. I like to spend as much time as I can with the subcontractors. We live and die by our subs, is the reality, in terms of everything from bidding the work to successfully completing it. And so those are my ideal days, on days when I can get out and stop by a handful of our projects, stop by a handful of subcontractors, and as much as it is about materials, it's also a lot about people. So.
Right.
For me, a typical day is I usually arrive on the site, and we'll have, depending on the day, but Monday, kind of develop a plan for the week and see where you are and what kind of work we have ahead of us, and map it out. Look what emails you have, what's going on. I usually try to walk the job site myself at least once a day, see what's out there, and just kind of look where we're going, plan to work, make sure we're planning ahead, not just what's in front of us right there. Keep the work moving, and just have conversations with the team. Got a really good team here, so we usually get a cup of coffee in the morning, discuss things for the day, try to work out exactly what needs to be done and where we're going. So, and just like Adam said, lots of meetings. We have a lot of meetings a week, a lot of people to talk to and make sure everybody's coordinating with each other, not just us, the subcontractors we've got to bring in. Brian does a great job of getting the subs involved and coordinated with each other, making sure the work is moving smoothly and efficiently.
I mean, similar to all of these guys, I come in and immediately go for the coffee. Usually steal Brian's.
There's coffee always flowing in our trailers.
Yeah. We do have a lot of meetings. We do coordinate a lot with the subs. I do a lot of RFIs and submittals, so a large portion of my day is making sure that not only are we ready for today, this week, this month, but also are the submittals in and getting approved for 4 to 5 to 6 months down the road? Are we getting the submittals here soon for the next 8 to 9 months? So it's hard sometimes to prioritize exactly what needs to get done when, because you've got critical things happening today that affect 8 months, 9 months from now. So that's always a fun portion to learn as you go. But every day is different, and that's why I like the industry.
Yeah, I would go right off what Sam just said. I love my job. It's not a monotonous day. Every day is different, and every day is really what you make out of it. Attitude is everything, and there's plenty of negative around you, but that's where I would say you got to be the spark. You got to go after it, and it is infectious if you are that person. My typical day is I get here around between 5:15 and 5:30 in the morning. I'll look at my emails, of course, because you got the people that peck them out at 10 o'clock at night. You want to make sure you're up on your emails. That's a big thing now. Not so much used to, but now it is. I like to get out, walk the job first thing before the men start. I like to walk anywhere that the workers are going to go. I want to make sure that it's safe. I want to make sure it's ready to receive the work of the day. I want to make sure it's ready for safety reasons, for quality reasons, for efficiency reasons. Got a schedule with me, and I want to make sure that we are where we're supposed to be any given day. Keep it in my back pocket, check it out, make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. The schedule gets updated every Friday, and then we kick a new one out every Monday, and then that one gets updated on the Friday, and every week that is archived with notes by every item of the schedule that's on it. So you can always rebuild where you've been, no matter if you want to go back a month or 6 months. You can always go back and then recreate the steps that were taken and why. And that's a big one for you down the road if you do need the information. If it does come to litigation or whatever, you may need that information. But, every day is start early and end whenever you can or have to. There's a lot of late days. But again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's a very fun job. It's not the same thing every day. And it really is what you make out of it, and I find it very rewarding. At the end of the day, you can look back what you've done and know you've done something.
Perfect. Yeah, so as many of us, we're in the construction management program, and I believe that, listen to your basically day-to-day roles. If you're more like, something that you don't want to be doing like probably every day, be out in the field, right? New challenges every day, and if you like to be in meetings and all that. So it depends on which role, but I would like to open the floor for questions. I know many of you have questions, so please raise your hand. And
This question's for Brian. What was your background starting off in the industry?
I started the construction industry when I was 14 years old as a mason's laborer in Russellville, Arkansas. So I learned a good hard day's worth up front. And so I went from that. I went to a Job Corps center and cast Job Corps in Arkansas. I became a certified painter when I was 16. So I was 16 years old as a certified painter working full time. Went from there to the Army and did some steel and some concrete after that. And then I was ended up at Clark Construction as a field engineer and they taught me field engineering through the Clark Construction program. And then I came here, took some construction management courses. I also took some courses at Marshall University. But I would say these courses here help me the most because they're very practical, and they teach you things that are things that you're going to encounter in your career. And so that's really where I came from, labor, and now I'm a senior superintendent. And I think it's important to have some history to what you're doing, because if you've never done it before, you don't know how to direct people, and you know, the experience is a lot, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would like everyone to actually talk about that background if they wouldn't mind.
So I aside from a short stint at a gas station in Gainesville, Florida for a summer, I've never worked anywhere else. I started at Grunley the summer after my junior year of high school as a laborer and a carpenter's helper, and worked the following summer again, same project, same superintendent who's now our director of field operations, with a little bit more responsibility than I had the prior summer, but at the time it felt like a pretty big jump in my role. I went to the University of Florida School of Building Construction, Emmy Rinker School of Building Construction, and I found it to be an excellent program. Throughout my time at college, I would spend the summers in different roles. I worked as a assistant project manager, or project engineer at the National Archives building. I worked as an assistant superintendent at Annandale High School, and I worked as an assistant superintendent at the McLean Bible Church. Graduated Florida, spent a few years in operations, probably about 6 years in operations as assistant PM. Then I ran my own small project out at Fort Meade. I was brought into estimating, hired Ryan 2 years later, and have spent probably 85% of my time since then in pre-construction in one aspect or another, either design management or pre-construction budgeting or hard bidding jobs. So.
My path's a little strange to get here. So I started coming here in 1995 after I graduated high school, and I was a retail manager for Circuit City stores. You guys remember Circuit City? After a while, they started downsizing and cutting people, so my job was eliminated, and they brought me back as a technician role. So I was doing mostly what you just see low voltage technicians doing now: alarm systems, point of sale systems, setting up little display boards and TV displays. And I was doing that for a few years, and then Circuit City was having more financial trouble, so they sold me to ADT. So I became a lead technician for them, going around different places in the country, managing a few guys with trucks, going here and there, doing similar work, alarm systems, panels, and things like that. But their major client was Circuit City, since that's where we came from. So in 2008, when Circuit City wasn't looking so healthy anymore, I started looking elsewhere. And I had a friend at Grunley who was interested in the business. I came and, as Adam said, interviewed with Adam. I got hired somehow in estimating, and I worked for Adam for 4 years in estimating. During that time, they said, "Hey, you've got college degrees. Why don't you come back to MC and take construction courses?" So that's where I met Mario and everybody else here. Came back 2009, and I spent a few years after working in estimating. I'd come here and take classes, just like I'm assuming most of you guys do, and ended up picking up the construction management. And then after 4 years in estimating, they said, "Why don't you go try out the field?" So I worked I was on loan in the field for a year, and then I ended up staying in the field. I did a couple phases of a long-term renovation downtown, and then worked doing a little elementary school before coming onto this project. So not exactly the straight path to get here.
Just to jump in on piggyback on what Ryan said though. He's right. I remember that now. That was very clearly a loan to the field for a 1 year period, and we were getting back. But Ryan was an excellent estimator, and he got into project management, and it turns out he's a even better project manager. So I think it's important to have both skill sets, to be quite honest with you, because every now and again I do need to call him in to help me bid a job. So.
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I graduated from Ohio State University, went there for a few years before I figured out that I wanted to do construction management. I did a couple of mission trips growing up that I really enjoyed doing, like painting and kind of construction type mission trips, but for whatever reason didn't realize that's what I wanted to do my entire life until in my junior year. So it took me about 6 years to get through school, took an extra couple laps. But through that, I actually met Grunley through career fairs. My project executive was actually the PM I was under during my first internship, Greg McHugh, who was great. I got to intern at American University on a dorm that they were just finishing. My last day was the day before students moved in, so it was an intense 3 months, but we made it. And then my second internship was actually at the Watergate Hotel renovation. That was 2 years ago. Actually no, that was 4 years ago. Time flies. Came on full time in 2015 when I graduated and worked on a elementary school, McKinley Elementary, which was a phased occupied renovation job. Kind of small, only 18 million, but
It's a hard job.
that was a hard job. I'm glad I was on. I learned a ton. This one's a breeze compared to that one.
No, it's not.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Why was it hard?
It was chopped up and the phases were
Very important in order to maintain continued occupancy of portions of the school, and the job it was competitively bid. All 5 bids came in over budget. We were the low bidder. I want to say by like $3,000, but it was probably a little bit more than that. So Arlington Public Schools has a clause in their solicitation that they reserve the right to negotiate with the lowest bidder if it's not within budget, but it has been competitively bid. So it was difficult on my end for the actual VE costing exercise, but it makes it that much more difficult to build when you've stripped out just pieces here and there to save money, and it was just a challenging job with a pretty challenging schedule.
Yeah, we completed almost 4 million in 8 weeks the second summer we were there, but we ended up finishing a week and a half ahead of schedule, and the teachers got to come in and move in before they thought they would. So our team felt great about it. It was just a grueling project, but I learned probably more than I would have on any other project. It was smaller, so I got to touch every piece of it. Some of our bigger jobs, people are kind of in a section of it and they don't get to experience all of it. So it was an awesome opportunity. I'm so glad I was sent there, and now I'm here. And
All right, thanks.
great.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess this is mostly for Adam, since you were dealing with the value engineering. Is that something like when a potential client says like we're over budget and we need a lower number, and then you have to start value engineering? But is that something where you would have to then go to like the architectural firm, the engineering firms, and work like hand in hand, like how can we do this?
So in this, yeah, absolutely. In this case, they had a very short fuse on it. Obviously, given that we had to get one wing done that summer, I want to say it was like end of April, beginning of May when they really were doing it. So we had to have a finalized set of construction documents ready to go come, June 1 or whenever kids get out of school. And so we literally worked hand in hand with the architect for probably a week straight. It might have been, we met with Laurie on Monday. She said, all right, guys, these are the things that we must have. These are the things that are all would like to have, and then these are the things that we can do without. Kind of went back, priced those, came up with a few more ideas that we could bounce off of her. And the county was actually very good and instrumental in sitting through the meetings and making decisions on the spot. But yeah, that's fine as long as it provides the same performance. We're okay if you change products. But I don't know how we would have gotten it done that quickly without it being a hand-in-glove effort, to be quite honest.
Okay, perfect. Oh, you have a question?
Rob met earlier. I'm actually working with one of the students with Sam, Ryan, for the job site management. This is a question for Ryan and Adam. As a chief estimator or any kind of estimating, when you guys have delays or deficiencies in work, what are some techniques that you guys use to get back on track or solve the challenges and get back into the workflow you guys try to do?
In terms of the bidding workflow or on any given project?
Any given project, I guess right now, like any delays you guys might have and say concrete, stuff like that.
Wow.
Wow, it's very specific.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Consulting a client.
Right. Well, typically, first we'd meet with the subcontractor and get to the root of what the issue is, what's going on, and then we typically, depending on how that first meeting goes, put a notice to the contractor, let them know that they're behind schedule and that they need to be back on schedule, and have them develop a recovery schedule to show us how they can get back on schedule. There's that, of course, things are going to grow out of there. When you talk, they may have another trade that they say is in their way or something that wasn't available to them. But our job beforehand is usually to make sure they're there. So our job is to document, discuss, meet, make sure expectations are set with the schedule, and then have them meet that schedule and tell us how they're going to do it. Basically.
To piggyback on that, though, I think we all agree that we do feel a responsibility for making our subcontractors successful. Okay, and again, like I said, we live and die by them. So they're gonna it's just a cyclical. The more we can commit to making them successful, the better they'll succeed. So usually these types of issues need to be resolved face to face on the job. If you guys want any advice moving forward in your careers, stay away from email as much as possible, at least in generating it. Pick up the phone. You'll find you get considerably better results.
I find that to follow up on that, I find the best practice is if you are going to email, the email should be to follow up on our previous
Absolutely.
conversation so that you have that documentation. But again, you've done the face-to-face. You do want to help our subs first, get them back on track if something's holding them up. You do want to understand the issue, but you want to document it as well.
I guess I'm sorry, this leads to my second question. For the subs, obviously you don't want to squish them in your relationship. How do you guys, I think you just explained it, how do you guys handle that relationship with, obviously there was a mistake made, but we want to keep that positive attitude like Brian was saying.
So it's fair but firm, right?
Right.
Everybody certainly deserves to be treated like people, for one, okay? And construction job sites are notorious. I mean, you just eventually see somebody lose their mind on someone else for a reason that certainly didn't justify that level of reaction, right? Okay, so there's got to be equal respect, if nothing else. And most of the people in this industry, it's still an honest, kind of old time industry where people do honor their word. And most people aren't afraid to say, yes, clearly we've fallen behind here. We're not going to let you guys down. If they do let us down, then we might need to have another meeting or have a meeting at a higher level. Or God forbid, we need to bring in another sub and supplement them. But we can't fail our client first and foremost. So.
Great, thank you.
Yes, I have a question for Adam. I know you said you guys live and die by the subcontractors. What is your ideal subcontractor or candidate for a subcontractor as far as certs and quality?
So I guess your question is what would be a qualified sub?
Yeah, qualified.
So, we do have a standard pre-qualification process that really looks at safety. It looks at basically your work in progress schedule right now. And then we'd like to do a financial review as well. There have been more subcontractor defaults in the last 5 years across the industry than there were in the previous 20. Okay, so it's important for us to protect our downside risk with some financial assurance from the subcontractors. What I usually do with that is I say, talk to my CFO and just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't need to know how much money you're making, right? And but that's it. It's really the subs that we get to know, develop real working relationships with over periods of time, And you know, I use CJ Coakley as an example. They're a drywall and plaster subcontractor in town. They have to have been in business 50 or 60 years, and we've done some fantastic jobs together. Okay, they've also been on a couple of tough jobs, but it's not the tough jobs that tested the relationship, right? I mean, you know, that as long as we stayed connected through those, everything went well. So it's, you know, people becoming our partners on the project are the people that will continually get, you know, repeat work because they're just helping make us successful. All we can do is help make them successful.
Right.
I'd like to follow up on your comment about there's been more subcontractors feeling than normal in the last few years. Any particular reason?
I think that it's I still think it's a result of coming out of the previous recession where construction got destroyed. You know, we lost 4 or 5 million jobs and replaced like 450,000 of them. So I think a lot of people had taken work during that time period to fill a gap in their schedule. And in hindsight, you know, 2011 and 12 was time to not be taking work, not to be filling up on work, because it was very, very competitive, very low margin, and very little room for error. So I think subs slowly ate into their cash, trying to get out of some bad jobs. But we've seen some big companies go out of business, like True.
You mentioned something that I thought maybe was the reason. That's why kind of a loaded question on my part. But I'm just wondering about the workforce in the construction world, particularly in the skilled trades and stuff. This is maybe a little off topic here, but is that slowing work down now?
Oh, absolutely. It's raising the price of work as well.
Reported a 500,000 worker shortage across the country. So, and I know kids out of high school are not thinking about any of those kinds of things. It's shameful what they are thinking of. I'm not kidding. It's actor, professional athlete, musician, and all these great non-paying jobs. Anyway, that's the truth too. That's 27% of people coming out of high school. That's what they want to do. So
I believe that.
yeah, and I think that's a real problem. I work here at the college. That's why I'm getting into the workforce stuff. It's I think it's going to be a real challenge in the coming years too. I think it's going to have a major impact on the economy.
It is, and so I don't want to get political, right? Between the tariffs and this looming labor shortage, that I currently serve as the president of AGC of DC, and I had given a interview to the Financial Times about this time last year about the again looming labor shortage that everyone could just kind of feel was coming, and at the time it was concrete guys that were feeling it. Now it's electricians and mechanical subcontractors, and you knew that was just going to spread right through the trades. But
it's not just the case. We have 6.3 million jobs vacant in the country right now. And that number was only about 3 million 4 years ago. It's growing constantly. So, thank you.
I could add to that too. I think in 2008 and 9, in the recession and everybody gets laid off, I think there was a thought there that, you know, the fat on the hog, or the people that weren't as good, would be the ones to go, which in fact it was the opposite. The people that weren't as good weren't making as much money, so they were a lot of people were kept because the low wage they were making, not what they offered as far as their skill. And I think that also contributed a lot to a decrease in the skill level in the construction industry today. We're still trying to get over that.
Average age in the trades too is in the upper 50s.
A lot of people left the industry forever because they didn't want to experience it again.
Paul, you have a question?
It's kind of a good segue to my question. What is the anticipated growth of Grunley in, say, the next couple of years, and what kind of hiring opportunities are there? Just putting it out there.
Well, first off,
again, we are always looking to hire good people, and interestingly enough, good people come to you from all types of sources. Again, Ryan's the perfect example of that. Ryan, the guy who introduced Ryan to Grunley, was actually the best man at my wedding. I think he's probably the best guy either of us know. And he set the interview up and said, I don't want to sway anybody's opinions. Okay, you guys tell me what you think, and he walked out, right? And so, at the time, I thought we were hiring a really, really good guy who was going to work hard and do good things, but I had no idea we were hiring a senior project manager that was going to, be able to run jobs like this almost, without much support above them. So, what's the projected growth for Grunley? Is 2 at a time. It's bet big or go home. I'm still not sure as to what the short term is in terms of bidding opportunities. The majority of the work right now is that we're doing, at least, is for private. Is a lot of it's for private developers in one shape or another. Our public portfolio is probably slimmed down to about half of our total volume, and was consistently 70 to 80%. So, the interesting thing with some private clients, it gives you the opportunity to follow them as they grow, and so I see some geographic expansion, certainly some continued horizontal integration across the markets, and there are certain markets I'd like to try and penetrate still in this area, but we're pretty blessed with a group of younger, extremely talented potential leaders of the firm, and I'm very bullish about our future, especially over the next 3 to 7 years.
Any other questions?
Would you have any advice or advices for students that are in the construction management program that will want to go towards the construction industry, like what they should do? I know internships is one big thing, but anything else in their free time, like, I'm not sure.
I can probably speak to that. So I'm one of the 3 people heading the recruiting effort at Grunley this year. And I can say that we're always looking for great talent. Those with experience, especially, obviously, if you have had internships before. If you have not, my best, and I did this at Ohio State, I had 6 internships before I graduated. I would recommend that all of you get as much construction experience as you possibly can if this is where you want to go, because classes are classes, and I love to study and read books, but there is nothing like hands-on education and being in the moment. And I think I learned more in my first internship with Grunley than I did probably in my entire high school and college education combined. It was incredible. But in terms of internships, yes, we're always hiring. You can find us online. You can also find us over there if you want to come talk to us. We do hire at a lot of the schools around here. I believe we do George Washington, Ohio State is a big one, the Big Ten schools. There's Catholic, Virginia Tech, Penn State, Pittsburgh, a lot of them. Our recruiting effort is huge, I think, compared to some of the other construction companies around here. We try really hard to kind of branch out and get as many talented individuals.
Somehow we ended up with 3 Bucknell graduates at Grunley.
Couldn't tell you where that came from.
The only construction company in the world that has 3 Bucknell graduates. Right?
That's right, yeah.
Seems like an odd fit. They're all doing wonderful.
Only a 2-part question. As far as estimating is concerned, what's the most difficult division for you to estimate?
Most difficult trade?
Correct.
Site. Anything associated with site. It's just not where I personally have it. A lot of my experience has been in large-scale historic renovations, so the earthwork was either limited to redoing the landscaping out front at the end of the job, or usually there was some utility work that might be within the building, but still connecting to site laterals or different site lines. But no, I'd say Division 2, but I don't even know what it is anymore with the master format. I'm so confused now. But no, I'm not. I handled site on the last job we did. We didn't get it, so it was probably a good thing with me and Lake Site.
And then the other part was, is there any specific sub that you scrutinize more than the rest, division-wise? Is there any problem areas that you focus on?
A can of worms here, right? Yeah. So it's oftentimes guarding against the rogue numbers. I like to know the night before the bid runs, as I have, glass guy A and glass guy B and glass guy C and glass guy D all confirmed bidding. And right, they come in and they're 2 million, 2 million 1, 2 million 2, 2 million 3, and then a guy we've never heard of them, 850,000, no exclusions, right? It's like,
Never seen people scramble so fast.
we're not using that price, right? I mean, so that's the most difficult thing to. Those are the landmines really to watch out for.
Avi?
Hello, hi. As you can see, I'm a lady, and I'm just wondering if you know of a percentage of your employees that are ladies. Have you seen an increase of females asking for employment at your company? And if so, what are the main jobs that the ladies are working at your company?
There are a lot of us, actually. I've been around Grunley now for 4 years. The first 2 were internships. My first 2, I think probably 30, maybe 40% of us were girls. And then now that I've come on full time, it might be closer to 40, 45. I mean, we're always hiring women. And actually, one of my executives told me, sorry, Ryan, that most project managers are better as women because we're just more detail oriented. It's sorry, yeah, sorry, sorry, not sorry. We're better. You guys are just late to the game on figuring it out. No, it's incredible. I obviously wasn't around in the last 10 years, but I think just speaking to a lot of people in the industry that have been around for a long time, it's changed wholeheartedly. I haven't experienced a single time where, at least not as a full-time employee here, where anyone has disrespected me or thought less of me or thought I couldn't handle anything. I did run into one person on my first internship. I was flying to Grunley from Cincinnati, and I told them I wanted to be a superintendent. I changed my mind since then, but they said, "Are you sure you can do that?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure." I turned to him and I was like, "Hell yeah, I can do that!" And he didn't speak to me for the rest of the flight. So that's the only time. I really don't think it's not something I would worry about, honestly. There are more and more women in the field. They're looked up to. We have a lot of women in higher roles at Grunley. One of our vice presidents, Sonia, she's fantastic. You would never want to get on her bad side.
The real in unison said no.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, if Sonia asks you to do something, you do it.
And then we just Kim Kessler is a senior PM at Grunley, just won Project Manager of the Year at. So she was nominated against 2 men and smoked them. She won Project Manager of the Year at the American Subcontractor Association's they call it Subby Awards. The nice thing is those are voted on by the subcontractors, so she took exceptional pride in that. But
Caitlin too. Caitlin just won.
Caitlin was listed in the top Mid-Atlantic.
Top 40 under 40 professional. I forget the total name of it, but
she's 30.
Yeah, she's 30 years old and she made top 40 in Engineering News record. So we have some very prominent women coming up in the field.
I also think that women coming out of school they're all much more just responsible, right from day one. I mean, I compare it to myself, right, coming out of college, and I'm sure it would have hired me,
All right, Patty, and then you have another question.
Yeah. Could you all speak a little bit about the actual project here? Are you on time, on budget, on schedule? What phase are you in? That kind of thing. What is the budget?
Sure. We have 6 phases to the project. Right now, we're in phase 1 through 3, which is the building, the student center building itself. The phase 4 goes into the amphitheater and reworks all the amphitheater, which is the space in between the new building and the existing student services. We got a phase 5, which knocks down the old student services building. Then we walk out with phase 6, which is a redoing of the lot 4 off to the side of the building. Not necessarily going to go per the phased number sequentially, but those are the different phases of work. Right now, we're complete with our excavation, and we've started the concrete work. And we're right on the updated CPM. We've had our challenges with the weather. I don't think anyone hasn't had a little bit of challenge with the weather, but we overcome it. We know how to drive on and get through it, and we expect to complete on time. There's no reason why we shouldn't. We've had a couple curveballs with some bearing of some footings. We brought the aggregate pier guys back in, and we did the other 2/3 of the building footprint with the ag piers, and they're gone again. And we're continuing now with the foundations. I would tell you about 85% of the foundation footings are complete, and we're getting along with the wall now. Right after the wall, we'll start our under slab rough ends in 2 weeks, and then we'll follow those right up with the slab, cap the slab on, and then we'll start the structural steel right behind it. So we're right where we need to be. We'll be starting the hydronic pipings. We got a hydronic piping system, A, B, and C. It's the mechanical pipes. They're 12-inch pipes. There's a 4-pipe system. It's two chill water lines, one supply, one return, and then the same with the hot water supply and return. System A was about 170 feet, and that was about 10 feet deep. It's fully welded pipe, and that's all done. We're already stubbed into the building, the new building with System A. We're already to our connection point in the existing trench. So that's a lot of big work that we're able to get done that you really don't get to see, but it's in the ground and waiting for us. So it's a lot of work that we've gotten completed, and we're going to be getting into here in the next 2 weeks. That it's exciting stuff. So I tell you, we're on time, we're on schedule, and we look to finish on time and within budget.
So when is it scheduled to be done?
Right now, we're looking at December of 2019. I think we're looking probably into January 2020 after the next update with the weather. And we update that CPM every month. But that's really what we're looking at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020.
What is the budget for the building next door?
What was the price for the building next door?
Yes, sir.
It was
49.9, I think.
49.9?
Right.
Right at $50 million, just a little less than $50 million. Yeah.
And that's for our construction. That, there's obviously more for design that we don't know.
Right, that's a start, our price.
Do you have any trades that you self-perform?
We do. We have a carpenter division, and they will do some.
We have a small masonry group. Again, so our masons, the average age of those guys is probably close to 70. We couldn't force any of them to retire if we wanted them to, which we don't. Okay, they for a lot when we're working in a historic building, there's a lot of difficult architectural toothing and patching of new door frames, or if you're penetrating existing historic terracotta walls for mechanical and electrical devices or equipment. That we could hire a mason to do. I don't think many masons are going to be interested in coming out there for a little patch job like that, and it's something that is going to reflect very quickly in the quality when you apply plaster to these walls and skim them. Okay, and so we're happy kind of controlling that in-house. We still have, what about 60 carpenters out there?
I believe so.
And another 80 or 90 laborers.
Yeah.
We do have the best laborers in the country. I will say that Grunley labor is worth their weight in gold. These guys are unbelievable.
For this particular project, though, we did not plan for any of our work to be self-performed. We subcontracted all aspects of this job.
Okay. Any other questions? Or I guess I'll ask one of the questions I have here then is, if you could start your career again, what would you do different? If you want, we can start with
I would do anything different. I would do what I'm doing. I love it. It's a freedom to it, and I really like it a lot. I wouldn't do anything different.
Well, if I'd started over from the beginning at school, I would have figured out that I wanted to do CSM a little sooner and gotten in here at the appropriate age and not be way older than all of my peers. Yeah, that's probably it. But either way, I'm happy. I would still be in the industry for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you heard my kind of crooked path to get here. I probably would have started a little sooner, instead of coming here for, general studies and management for the first time. I probably would have come and done the construction management course earlier, and hopefully still ended up with Grunley at that point and done a little bit. And, other than that, maybe get Sam to work for me earlier so I can be successful.
I have 2 things. So three things. One is learn the fundamentals really, really well. So I do martial arts on the side, and it's very, very important to slowly learn every fundamental technique so that you develop a little muscle memory. This is no different, okay? If you don't learn the basics of how to build a building, everything is going to be hard your entire career. You are always going to be behind. You're always going to be faking it. 2 is don't worry about what other people think about you. You have an obligation to serve your clients, okay, and a moral obligation to serve your subcontractors and your colleagues. That's all just part of having a nice working environment, okay? But don't let anybody change your dreams. Don't let the concern of how somebody's gonna judge your decision stop you from making the decision you think is the right decision to make. I fell victim to that for a long time. And the 3rd is don't burn any bridges. It's a really small industry, believe it or not. It's a very, very small industry. My first project out of college, I called my dad complaining about the painter, and he said, okay, maybe they're not that good. I remember at Aero Rios when I needed 30 painters to bail me out of a jam I worked my way into. They showed up Saturday morning with 30 painters to save me. But I'll tell you, if you make enemies with one sub like that a month, you'll probably run out of all the subs in town in about 4 or 5 years. And it was just kind of something that's set in with me, right? Again, we'd love every relationship to just go perfectly with every sub. That's not realistic, okay? But it doesn't need to go south. It doesn't need to go sour. Don't burn any bridges.
Thanks. Mario?
What would be one piece of advice for our students to succeed in construction management overall? If you were to give one piece of advice for success.
If you're not passionate about it, don't do it. Okay? Plain and simple. I wake up on bid day like you'd think I was getting ready for the Super Bowl. I'm not, trust me, I'm not comparing bid day to the Super Bowl, right? But how many times have you seen it? I get legitimately excited. I say our competitors make us better, right? I like competing. There's a lot of pressure associated with the job, a lot of deadlines, a lot of milestones, and a lot of people involved to keep happy. So if you don't love it, you're gonna hate it.
I agree with that. One thing I would say is don't be afraid to learn from your mistakes. Don't be afraid to make a decision, because unfortunately in this industry you learn a lot from the things that you felt like you didn't do wrong the first time. You really do. That experience is invaluable. So don't be afraid to make a decision, run with it, and if it's a mistake, you'll learn from it.
I would say trust but verify. We all deal a lot with subs making us promises and saying things and, oh yeah, I'll have that to you, the windows are going to be here next week, and 6 months later they're still not here because you never actually verified that they were released, or whatever reason. Once you get burned once, you won't forget it again, but if you don't want to get burned at all, just verify what people tell you.
And that can be easily done. Just send me a pic. Great. The windows are done. Send me a picture. I'd love to see it.
And I say windows because I got burned on windows at that elementary school. So I was not a very trusting person after that.
I guess I would say lead, don't beat. Plan. Plan and coordinate before you try to schedule and implement. like Adam's already said many times today, I think the theme is, the subs are our lifeblood. And the more you can plan and coordinate the project and learn the ins and outs and the details of the project, so you could best set them up for success with the schedule that you present. And you get their buy-in on the schedule, because now it's not just me giving a sheet of paper to somebody and saying, go do it. Before I make that schedule, I'll actually bring the subs in that are pertinent to the work at hand. I get their buy-in. Well, now they feel ownership of that schedule too. So it really becomes a tool that they will hold on to, and they'll actually look at it and they'll reference it. And if they do that, at the end of the day, you get what you need. And they're more efficient. They make better money. You got a happy sub. 9 times out of 10, I can ask any sub to do almost anything I want them to do, even if it's in their division or not, and they'll go do it. That's because we give them a very good plan so they can be successful and so they can make some money. And if everybody's making money and clients are happy, it's usually a pretty good time.
I'm going to add one thing, piggybacking off of that. When you do get in the field and you meet these subs, while you might be in a management position over them, always remember that they probably know way more about their field than you do. So I would say don't be arrogant when it comes to working with these guys. Ask questions, learn it, understand it. You're not going to understand everything that they tell you. I call my electrician in probably at least once, maybe twice, 3 times a week, just asking him a simple question like, what is a tap on a bus bar? I have no idea what that means. I just got a price for it. I don't even know if it's legit or not because I don't know what this thing does. And then he just explains it to me, and then it's respect. It's respectful. It helps him understand where I'm coming from. I understand where he's coming from. And I think all the way around, when I do need to ask him to do something in a managerial status, he respects me more for it and will actually do that.
I love that.
I'm not aware of what your experience might be working for a subcontractor, but I guess in your opinion, for us students looking to go into the field pretty soon, are there any benefits or is there a difference between like starting off with a contractor rather than working for a sub starting off? Does it really matter?
It's going to be on an individual basis. I know a lot of brilliant people that I graduated college with at the same time that went to go work for subcontractors and that went to go work for general contractors. The nice thing in a sub, you might have a little bit more opportunity to get to the top quicker, just because there's fewer people and a lot of subcontractors are still family owned, and if somebody doesn't necessarily have a child coming into the business, they're always looking to groom a heir. We have people that have at Grunley that have worked. Tom Zari, he worked at Turner Construction, then he worked for a subcontractor for a long time, and then he's been with us for 4 or 5 years, and so he did his subcontractor time. I think it's harder to be a subcontractor as a general contractor, quite honestly. You look at companies like Manganero, who's managing a labor force of 800 or 1,000 people, and wouldn't even know where to begin. It's a whole nother skill set.
Okay. We got 5 more minutes, so that gives us time for a couple more questions.
General question: do you guys use a lot of like BIM software nowadays, or do you even use it in the field, like Brian? Like how much is technology taking over your job versus? I've been in the trade, I'm older than most of the guys here, so I remember with a big Motorola phone over here. Thank you. But when I started off, we had big old Motorola phones and nobody was emailing anybody. Now, I don't know much about BIM, but I know it's out there and I know it's the future, and it's going to be critical to what we all do, going forward. But are you even walking around just an iPad looking at 3D renderings and models of everything going on?
Yeah, we have an iPad, and I find the drawings being the most used to. Back in the day, you had 4 rolls of drawings on your shoulder and you're trying to walk across 80 acres or whatever. Now you got it in a nice tight tablet. So you can pull up all the documents, not just the drawings, but the ASIs, you know, all the different supplementary information that you need, all the different submittals. It's much more technology at the fingertips. I've used a lot more of the technology too, I'd have to say, in the scheduling software, because it really allows you to document more and to manage more without having to do just busy work. I know when I started being a superintendent, we did everything on a piece of graph paper. So when you change something, you had to completely rewrite the whole thing. So it made you really want to do it right the first time. But now everything's just so flexible. You get to document much more. I know BIM is coming into it. I'm probably a little older school too than some as senior superintendent. But the younger people teach me a little bit more about the BIM 360 and the other 3D models, and so I'm learning more. But I think Sam and Ryan could probably talk to more of the BIM than I can.
So there's a big component to this project that we're working on now. They're actually going to use it for maintenance in the end. We're even doing a 4D model on this building for after we coordinate it. And you can take that 4D model and we update it each month, and you can see the progress and advance the schedule in there and see what the building will look like based on the schedule of that date and time. And you know, every piece of equipment's going to have a BIM tag in there you'll be able to scan a barcode and pull up that information. It'll be a great resource for the college when we're done.
So I was resistant to the technological change, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I still think that email will inevitably be the downfall of society, but I can't believe people don't pick up the phone anymore. I still can't look at drawings on an iPad. I gotta look at a set of drawings. I've just been doing it for too long. But I don't know, it was either you or Gar, one of my Ryans taught me, you know, I don't know why you'd want to sit there and take that off by hand when you could literally click the four corners in OCS and get everything you need, you know? And so at some point it did just, you know, the squeeze became the juice became worth the squeeze, you know?
I still like to have the paper drawings, even though we've got Procore and everything else now. That, you know, it's just nice to have it all updated.
Well,
where you're not, you know, probably you'll still probably have to post drawings when you get on there into the field. Probably some of you do already, but the technology where it basically overlays and posts the drawing for you, so you have that accurate information at your fingertips right away is pretty nice to have from back in the day where you're taping and edging drawings and you know, everything else.
All right, so last question. We'd like to ask the last question.
Scheduling and what estimating softwares do you use?
The CPM schedule, I use the P6, and for the weekly schedules, I use the Microsoft Project. It just seems to be a little bit easier for the weekly updates and to make a schedule a little quicker, a little easier. And it's also a little easier for the subs to use. As far as estimating, I'm not sure.
So for takeoff, we use Bluebeam and On-Center software. Our actual estimating bid software, though, is it's a custom created Excel workbook that is just a girl I started working with at Grunley who's since had 4 children and doesn't work there anymore. Comes back about once a year to help me update it. So.
Well, thank you so much.